Hello, this is James and Leon from GamesRadar, and today we are here to talk about the new game from the developers behind Until Dawn called Man of Medan. In fact, it's an anthology, so there's a series of games in this collection. Leon, before we get on to the new two-player game mode that is in this game, can you just explain to people who have maybe not played Until Dawn the kind of premise behind it and how this game works?
Until Dawn was a great sort of schlocky horror game. It's that kind of B-movie style, the call came from inside the house kind of horror, where it's a bit silly, it's a bit chunky, but it's fun and it's enjoyable. It's that kind of like, oh, it's a dark room, I better go in there and have a look. And the Man of Medan takes that kind of premise, and this dark anthology thing they're working on is each installment is going to be based on or riff off of some kind of urban myth or like some kind of legend. And the Man of Medan is this slightly sort of nebulously defined ghost ship that is sort of out there, and there's sort of stories about it. And in the setup for this game, you are out treasure hunting, doing sort of slightly illegal dives to look at wrecks on the coast. You get caught by pirates, and then you all collectively find the Man of Medan, and it's this big wrecked old gnarly ship. There's a prologue we can talk about in a minute that sets up how it got to be how it is. But essentially, yeah, this whole installment, you are trapped on a ghost ship trying not to die, and that's probably going to happen quite a lot. Yeah,
so this bit we're looking at now isn't actually the ghost ship. This is the ship that the group used to go and find the ghost ship.
Yeah.
And this is them once the pirates have got onto their boat and they are trying to escape from the pirates before any of the supernatural stuff happens. Yeah. This is just your regular pirates with knives.
And it's a classic kind of setup as well, because they're all sort of slightly annoying, and it's like you watch a lot of horror films and you're always like, the characters are not like appear and you're always like, well, you're going to die. I'm really going to enjoy this because I don't like you and I don't like you and you're a bit annoying, and they're still a bit annoying by the end of it, like, or the chunk we played, but you are starting to feel like you want to protect them maybe.
Yeah, well, and the way the gameplay works at its core is you basically take control of one of the key 5 characters.
Yeah.
You get to walk them around a bit in sort of locked off camera environments, and then you get to choose what they say to the other characters and how that affects their relationship, and then the things that you say might open up other paths for you later on. It might make them more heroic, it might make them more dismissive of someone and then not help them later on. But it's all basically to do with your choices, and if you want to get someone killed, you can be like a real dick, and hopefully, you know, you'll get the result that you want. You have to sort of almost, you kind of almost have to know how to do it first almost. I think it's definitely a kind of second playthrough thing, a bit like how quickly can you get them killed. This is the interesting thing, is that you make these decisions, you pick up objects, you talk to people, but as 2 players, you go off sometimes and do it separately. Yeah, so let's go in depth on the 2-player system. So this is a new thing that has been introduced for this anthology of games, and essentially it's you play 2-player online but with no voice chat.
Yeah.
And you're basically given, like, at the beginning of every scene it will say who your friend is, and that's who the other person that you're playing with is playing as.
Yes.
And then the decisions you make sometimes are with them, sometimes are with other characters, sometimes it's in the same room, sometimes it's in completely different settings.
Yeah.
So when we played it, we had quite different experiences.
It's essentially you both go online, you join each other's game, and then you both play a single-player game that occasionally overlaps, occasionally separates. So, for example, one of the biggest things that happens right at the beginning is that you played a character who went off and did a dive, went underwater, explored the wreck. I stayed on the boat and tried to light a barbecue, nearly set it on fire. And you don't know what the other person is doing. So you saw like the boat explode, didn't know what was going on. You came back up and you'd proposed. But that was made possible because of a conversation another character had when you didn't know what it was about.
Yeah.
So it's a fascinating thing that you're in the same space in the same game. You go off and do things and come back, and you don't always have the same information or the same kind of perspective on the bits you share. And it's what Supermassive described as kind of the origins of the idea, was that they noticed that a lot of like the sort of the chat around Until Dawn was people would finish playing it, meet up, and then have whole kind of like, wait, you did what? And they didn't die here, and people would discover how different their game was from someone else's. And what they've done is they've created that in one game, so 2 people can play the same game and have completely different experiences. And the thing I think that showed it off beautifully is annoyingly stuff we can't show, which is the prologue, which sets up why the Man of Medan is haunted. And you play as 2 American soldiers as the ship is essentially becoming evil and they're trying to escape. But there was loads of amazing tricks. Like, we didn't realise until several hours later that I was reacting to and seeing a ghost that kept darting in front of me that you weren't seeing, and we were there at the same time, and you didn't realise why I kept stopping or going off down a corridor because I was chasing a child. And then obviously the end, there's no spoilers because it's the prologue. The characters related, it doesn't end well for them, but you explain what happened to your character.
So there was the prologue scene ends by going into like a massive cargo area on the boat. So I walked in there, you're on your own, like for some reason I can't quite remember, you've been split up from each other.
Yep.
So I went in first, you went off to investigate something else. I was wandering in and found a man who was dying. As he's dying, he like whispers your name, the character's name, and then says like hide, and the prompt comes up to say you can either hide or investigate the man a bit further. And at this stage I wasn't sure if that was like you saying your prompt was like you should tell me to hide because you've seen something else.
Yeah.
So I hid because I'm a baby and ran off into the locker and then just hid there for a bit, and then that was how that bit of the scene ended for me. I was hiding in a locker, and then there was loads of bullets went off and the locker got full of bullet holes, and I just like slumped out onto the floor. And then a man walks up to the locker and he's like dressed in a samurai outfit with a big pointy hat, and his face is all like melted off and bloody, and he just like screams at the screen, and then it cuts to black. And I was like, oh well, obviously I've died and done something wrong. Yeah. But that might not have been the case.
Well, then, yeah. So my playthrough was having been chasing this little zombie child ghost baby thing that you had no idea what I was talking about.
Never seen it. Yeah. I don't even know what that was.
In my version of the ending, I saw the child run into a room. I go into the room. It's all getting a bit weird. I find your character is dead on the floor with his throat slit, and the child runs and hides in a locker. I riddled a locker with bullets because I found the machine gun. You only had a knife. And then I go up to the locker to open it, and the little child like looks up at me. His face suddenly turns really horrible, like it's already zombie-like, but it suddenly pulls back into a skull. And I drop dead on the floor like by some kind of heart attack or something. But you know, we were having this conversation. You were like, "Wait a minute, you shot me?" And I was like, "No, the zombie child." Like we had this whole moment. We had to try and like reconcile the playthroughs that were completely different into one event.
Yeah, you were like, "Oh, I just shot the locker with the child," and I was like, "No, I was in the locker. That was me you were shooting." It seems like it's going to do some very clever things with, if you're both playing even the same scenes, you might see different things and have to react to different things, but you won't be able to like communicate what you're seeing, and at the end you'll be like, oh, that's why you were doing that.
They do that quite subtly, don't they? Right beginning at the boats, there's one bit where my character goes off to the back of the boat to do some stuff, and your character goes off to the front of the boat, and we can still see each other because of the way we're facing, and we can see who we're talking to, but we don't hear what's going on, and then they come back. So even when you're in the same scene and you're part of the same moment, you don't always have the same information. Yeah,
we should be able to demonstrate it with the footage that we can show you from this section on the boat here. Now, it's very much the same thing. So you get control of Conrad, who's like the cocky one. He gets taken off to the front of the boat with the soldiers, and you had a big conversation out there and had to decide whether you'd like push your luck and see if you could overthrow the soldiers or not. And I was at the back of the boat, still tied up with a couple of other characters. There we were just like scheming and plotting what to do once you would come back. But there's a good 4 or 5 minutes of different stuff happening there, but in the same game. And eventually you're brought back in and we escape out the window.
Well, you're still locked in a room. In my playthrough, I've crawled out the window, round the side of the boat, and I'm having to like match a button prompt to stay calm, to not give myself away. And then I have an option to either try and grab a knife and attack the bad guys, or try and escape. You move a perfume bottle earlier in the game that then lets you attack the guard.
Yeah, while you're sneaking off around the side of the boat, I'm controlling 2 other characters who are hiding behind the door, and as the guard comes in, hit him with a perfume bottle. One of the girls has got some little scissors. We stab him in the neck with some scissors and then take him up onto the deck, where you've snuck round the boat and have either got in a little dinghy or have attacked one of the men. And I think we got to a point where you had a gun on one man, I had some scissors at a guy's neck, and we had a big standoff, but it didn't go well.
It didn't go well, no. I think it might be a bit like Until Dawn, where there are sections where you are heading towards something the same thing no matter what you do. You might sort of go through different paths to get to the same point, and this whole section ends with you finding the Man of Medan, the haunted boat. So I don't think you can truly kind of escape, because one of the options to escape, they did say that a character does come back.
Yeah, we didn't do that. Whether or not you get to decide whether they come back or not, we're not sure. But you can definitely kill all of them if you want at some point throughout the game. You can try and kill none of them, but if you've played Until Dawn, it's most likely at least one of them is going to die.
Yeah, you won't get them through all intact. The perfume bottle was an interesting thing, because I noticed when you're exploring the boat, there's one bit you open a cupboard and you go, there's a book and there's a perfume bottle. I noticed that as one character when I played, and when I explored later on, the perfume bottle was gone. I didn't think anything of it, but it's because your character had moved it into a position that was later useful to attack the guard.
Yeah, not on purpose.
Not on purpose, no, but it interesting implies that basically I could, in a later section of the game, I could maybe take something that could have saved you and vice versa. Or, you maybe don't put something in the right place and then it doesn't save you. They also have these, you mentioned the traits, relationships and bearing changes. So traits and relationships are this thing, you make a character act more bravely, maybe they'll be able to save you later on. If you foster a better relationship, maybe someone will be able to help you. So there's all these kind of like elements that you don't know how they're going to play out. There's two of you doing things, and neither of you know what the ultimate ramifications of these things are, which is a really interesting kind of idea, that something that happens in the first few hours of the game could suddenly become massively important later on, and it's too late to do anything about it.
And you mentioned bearings there. It looked like from the playthrough that we had, there seems to be in this game at least 8 different bearings, which the developer said are like big plot altering or course changing moments.
And that was in just in the opening hour and a half, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think we saw 4.
Oh, okay.
So I think there might have been another 4 later on.
And it's basically this equivalent of like, the game will remember that. It means you've...
Yeah, so things like the proposal was on one bearing wheel, and it takes you through the different stages of like, you chose to go with your gut, then you chose to propose, then she said no / yes, and so you get to like, those are the big key moments which then ultimately affect the next few scenes of the game, basically. So there's those to look out for as well. There's also a movie night mode where like 5 of you can get together locally on a sofa. You can all put your name in, and then you pass the pad around and get control of different characters.
It's up to 5, isn't it? Because everyone can take like 1 character each, or if there's only 3 of you, somebody takes 2, but you basically accept responsibility for 1 character, and then you make their decisions as you go. It kind of works.
At the moment, we haven't played it enough to see if it's any different than playing it single player and just have everyone shout at you and go like, no, go left, why haven't you chosen? Like, it's that kind of thing, but it gives, I guess, everyone in the room more control. So if everyone is shouting at you, you can be like, no, I'm not going to do that. I want to go hit the man on the head with a bottle, thanks.
Yeah, well, it must be an absolute bummer if you do a 5-player game and then one of your character dies. You just got to sit there for the rest of the game.
Yeah, because they can probably die in the first couple of hours, and then you're just like stuck. So the game's like 4 to 6 hours long, I think. So it's slightly shorter than Until Dawn, but I think there's going to be more of these in quicker succession.
Yeah, and also there is so much breadth to it, because you obviously got 2 people capable of making game-changing decisions, and then the relationships, the traits, all these sort of different things. So it may be a bit shorter than, say, Until Dawn, but it's much wider. 4 of us afterwards, like a couple of other journalists, sat down and played the 5-player mode, and all of us were just constantly going, I didn't know that happened, wait, this is a possibility. There was no point did anyone go like, oh yeah, we all saw that.
And it's got a lot of extra stuff to find as well, like in Until Dawn, there's premonitions in this, so you can pick up certain bits of paper and pictures which will show you a very small glimpse of future events, which then you can use that to change your decisions if you want to, or carry on going down the path you're on and be like, oh, I've seen them getting a bit sick, maybe I'm going to just make them die. There's a few secrets to find as well, so there's loads of stuff to do.
We spent like most of the evening after playing it just picking apart all the decisions and bits and working out what we did and didn't know about each other's playthrough. Yeah,
so that's Man of Medan, part of the Dark Pictures Anthology. If you've got any questions about it, let us know in the comments. The game is out on the 30th of August on Xbox One, PC and PS4.